Hi, this is a brief Catholic Christian perspective on the Vice Presidential Debate 2020. Now, if you're new to this channel, Decide for Peace. Before we go through this VP debate, I strongly recommend you watch my video, Trump versus Biden. It shows what I think God is doing right now in America, why so many people are divided. I go into why I really believe God arranged all of this, and why the last debate, the one most people thought was, oh, it's embarrassing, why it was actually good. Did I lose you yet? Well, don't. If you haven't watched it, it's called God's Trump-Biden Test for you, and I'll put the link below. But, all right now let's talk about this vice presidential debate that just happened. Now, the name of this channel is Decide for Peace. Deciding for peace means your peace is not determined by what your candidate says. Oh, why? Okay, you trust God is leading the country. This is what we've been praying for guidance, right? But then you enjoy the debate. Now, when the candidate that you don't prefer says something good, or acts well, celebrate it, be happy, okay? Now, by doing this, staying in a place of peace and not trying to inwardly direct what you hope they will say, God will allow you to look more deeply at the debate and see what He's doing, because God's actively doing this. He's arranging this, okay? Now, I'm a peacemaker. That's the name of this channel, Decide for Peace. So the first thing I noticed about this debate was how at peace Vice President was. He always spoke softly and respectfully. I found myself thinking, if I had to argue with one of these two individuals, and I hope to be able to change their mind, which one would be more open to listen to me, and that I could have a chance of changing their mind? Now, if you already watched the debate, rewatch it looking for this, because this is necessary right now, the way the world is. Everybody talks about being able to get along with everybody, but you know, anybody you talk to, think of the most difficult person that you know, and you ask them, can you get along well with people? Most people think just like most people think they have a sense of humor. So most people think they can do that, but that's how you can tell that, right? Now, this is quite important. Now, if you didn't yet watch the debate, I'll give you the link later for the best place to watch it with no interruptions, no commercials, nothing in the beginning, so it can just start, okay? At any rate, let's continue. For Pence's first question, okay, now you notice these little things. For Pence's first question, he took time first to say, it is a privilege to be here with you, Senator Harris. You know, and she was nodding, right? And later in the middle of the debate, he also says thank you to her, and he says congratulations to you. He shows a real mature character. Now, it's clear he is being strong but gentle in the debate, and that's what's called meeknesses, right? Weakness is when you're like, oh, I just can't handle it. But meekness is when you could do anything, but you're choosing not to, right? It's like weakness by choice, and that's what Jesus was. He was a man, right? But so at any rate, it's clear he respects her, and he acts like she's part of his family, and I really like that. He connects with her. Not her so much, but you'll see that. But I'm sure she was impressed with the way he treated her. I really believe that. But it comes out that he called her on the phone when she was nominated to congratulate her. And it's clear he shows empathy for her. He says, I know what it's like to have no idea you're going to be nominated as vice president, and then you end up here in a debate. You know, he congratulates her. He's very polite, with all due respect, etc. With all due respect, you know. And do this. This is an important thing. I like that they show their faces. Look at their faces when the other one talks. And if you can't always do that real well, if you just watch a debate once, you know. I watch the Democratic convention, I watch the Republican. You watch everything, even at your other party. You want to put your prayers to it. So look at their faces when the other one is talking. This tells a lot about character. Pence listens openly, very openly. But Kamala I was impressed with her, I should say that. Not as much as I was impressed with Pence, but I was impressed with her. Kamala is noticeably almost impatient, laughing at a few times, you know. Now, they both did an excellent job of going with the flow. And you know, if you ask God to lead and guide you, you have to go with the flow. You got to trust He's leading you. You ask God to lead and guide you, you got to trust that He's leading you. So that requires going with the flow of things you didn't prepare to do. And I thought they both did an excellent job of going with the flow, because you want a lively debate. You don't want it like the last one, right? But and watch the video about the last one. You'll see why I think that was meant to be that way by God. But this one was very different, right? I love the debate. Very different from the last one that we saw, although I love the last one. See my other video, like I said, to explain how I think that was so great. But back to this debate. When things were said that Pence didn't agree with, he didn't look surprised or upset. He looked disappointed. Like, why would you say that? And I love that. That's how like a father would treat a daughter. Or you're like, oh, somebody that cares about somebody. If you were with your friend and they say, well, this is what you did over there, you're like, how could you think that? I just love that. He looked disappointed. I got the feeling he's still open to do what she's saying. He's listening to her, right? It's like he didn't shut down listening to her. Now, Senator Harris, on the other hand, said, for example, I will not be lectured by this man. And I just wasn't real respectful. I will not be lectured. She said it at least twice, I will not be lectured. And now I know he'd listen to her. You could just tell. Now, she could lecture him on anything and he'd listen. And he'd really be listening to her. He won't agree, might not agree with her, but he'd listen for sure. Now, I'm not coming down on the senator, don't misunderstand me, but it was clear to me that he is much more mature in the conversation, right? He was like the adult there, and I don't mean that against her at all. So I don't mean that at all. I mean, if you watch it with an open mind, you will see that as well. Now, I wouldn't feel like I'd be getting shut down talking to him if I disagreed with him. I like spending my time talking to people that I disagree with. Lots of times I tell people, look, if you only talk to people you agree with and you never talk with people you don't disagree with, how are you going to learn if you're wrong? How are you going to learn if you're wrong? So I spend a lot of my time talking with people that I don't disagree with. And you can only do that when you really are reaching out to understand the other person first. And I think that he does that a lot. I feel like I don't feel like I'd be getting shut down talking to him if I disagree with him. And with her, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think to keep the peace, I'd have to be quiet a little bit more. Now, notice some of the little things. It comes up in the debate that she walked out on a bill she didn't like. He just mentions that you walked out and she didn't shake her head no to that. So that's a big thing. So just think about that. Can you imagine Jesus walking out something? Pence wouldn't walk out. He'd dialogue. Remember, the Bible, God says, come reason with me. You just don't walk out if you don't like something. And you'll hear it when it comes up. If you didn't watch it, don't judge it yet till you see it. So it's in the title of this, the Catholic perspective, the Christian perspective, right? Now, the enemies, remember this, please. The enemies of the most important things in life are lesser important things. They're not stupid things. So you got to make your priorities. So you got to say, what's the most important thing? So there's a lot of good things here that have to go under. They have to be subordinate to the greater important things, right? So pro-life came up in the debate, right? The right to choose. Now, for me, this is the biggest thing, and that's why when they put the pro-life things on your car, it never says, this candidate's pro-life, but you should know this about them. Because the biggest issue, the lesser important thing should never be at the mercy of the greater important thing. So for me, this is the biggest thing. And as a Catholic, it should be for you as well. It's like God is saying, how important is pro-life to you? There are so many Christians that say, pro-life is so important to me. And now God's testing them, right? How important is it to you? We vote for somebody that says all these things that you might not even like. I mean, I'm talking about the people that are saying they're pro-life that aren't going to vote for Trump. See, you have to watch the other video I made, right? What God is doing. It's just great. It's like God is saying, how important is it to you? You say it's important, but you judge a tree by its fruit, right? You don't judge it by its past. You don't judge it. That's why I don't like it when they really come down on Biden's past. I mean, he doesn't mean to do well, and I'll keep this short. It's in the other video. So at any rate, will you vote for someone you don't like to have pro-life, right? So if you don't know who you want to vote for, please watch the video that I think explains what God's doing in our country right now with this election. I think what's going on now is great. You decide for peace. You can do this right now. You can decide in your heart, I am going to trust God and have peace in my heart. Knowing He's in total control. God's not up there saying, wow, look at this. What's going on? He's in total control. Nothing happens He doesn't approve. So you can enjoy the ride. You do your best, but then you let God do the rest, huh? So and when you do that, if you do this well, trusting God, then you can learn to really trust God, then even if your candidate loses, you can sit back and enjoy the ride, knowing that you will be fine. And you can just hear Jesus saying, wow, such faith, such faith, such faith. Saying, well, this is what I thought you wanted. This is who I vote for, right? And if they lose, you can still say, well, I'm glad this is over with and I'm going to enjoy the ride. I know God's in control. Then not a hair on your head will be touched. See? Now, a few quick notes before we wrap this up. I just thought I'd mention, it's mentioned that Biden is Catholic, right? No, Nancy Pelosi is Catholic. But as you probably know, you can't be Catholic and be pro-choice. You just can't. It's in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. You can look it up. USA Today in 2019 had an article that Joe Biden was denied Holy Communion at Mass because of his stance on pro-choice. You just can't, right? So I just thought I'd throw that out there because he says, well, he's Catholic. But so if you haven't watched yet the VP debate that we're talking about, or if you want to watch it again with no interruptions, I'll put the C-SPAN link below set to start at the actual debate time. So you can just watch it again, okay? In light of the things that I mentioned. I'm closing with this. Remember, prayer makes the world go around. If you knew how powerful prayer was, you would do nothing else. Everything else would fall into place. So pray. And don't pray for your candidate to win. Pray for God's will. Don't you ask God to lead and guide you. You don't ask him to manage you. If you know what you want done in the house, for example, and you're going to hire a manager, you say, this is what I need done, and you hire a manager. You hire a leader when he tells you what needs done. Leaders make sure you're doing the right things. Managers make sure you're doing things right. So if you're going to tell God, make sure Trump wins or make sure Harris wins, you're hiring a manager to help you manage to get that done. You're asking God to lead and guide you. So keep an open mind, right? That's what you want. Keep an open mind and you're going to notice things. Go into watching the debate without a hope that your candidate will win, and then you're going to notice more things about it. I'm telling you, you will. If you watch it again, if you haven't, this time thinking, I don't care who wins, just try it. And try to understand each person's point of view and say, wow, they're misled, instead of they're trying to wreck the world. You're going to notice things. You know, in psychology, it's called a scotoma. If you go into the kitchen, you know, a friend of yours says, will you go into the kitchen, please, and get me the sugar? And as you're walking in there, you think, I don't know where the sugar is. You just told yourself that. When you walk in, you're looking for the sugar. You say, I can't find the sugar. And your friend comes in and picks it up and says, what's this? Right in front of your face. You told yourself, I don't know where the sugar is, and your mind believes it. I got this example with salt from Tony Robbins. Remember him from a while back? So anyway, that's called a scotoma. Don't go watching the debate thinking that your candidate has to win or should win, or I hope he says this. Because look, don't you hear people now saying, Trump obviously won the last debate. Oh, Biden obviously won. You're going to see what you're looking for. If I tell you right now to look around the room for everything green that you see, then I tell you to close your eyes and say, tell me everything that you saw that's blue. You won't notice very much. But now if I say open your eyes and look, you'll see all kinds of blue things. Watch the debate with a really open mind. Really open mind. And if pro-life's important to you, you know, you ask to be led and you'll see how it works, right? So notice other things, like when the senator's first question, what will you do if elected? Her first question, what will you do if you're elected regarding to the COVID-19? Are you going to lock down the country, force masks to be worn? This is something that I think I was interested. I want to hear what she's going to say. Her entire 2-minute response never addressed the question. She was afraid of the negativity. A lot of people just want to get elected. And I'm not saying she's in that category, but they're afraid of negativity. I don't like the signs, for example, in your own hometown that has signs up, vote for Smith, vote for this. All it says is their name. Nobody puts what they believe on there. Nobody does, right? They just say to vote for their name. Nobody puts what they would. Because if you put something down, like vote for John McGillicuddy, you know, he's pro-life. The people with the pro-life, yeah, but the people that are pro-choice say, you're not voting for him. The negativity response, just because of our weak human nature, is so much stronger. So she didn't want to address the question, because the people that liked it would like it, but the people that don't, she's going to turn off, and I understand that. But a person of integrity needs to do that stuff. So then look at Pence's first question. He answers it directly. So I'm going to end. There's a lot of great things that were in this debate. If you didn't watch it, the link is below. Watch it in light of the things I just mentioned. A lot of things I could say right now, sticking in my own opinion. There's a lot of stuff about this debate that I think is just great, but they're my opinion and you have your own opinion, and yours is just as good as mine is, right? The one thing we do know for sure, I mean, I'm trying to avoid me putting things on you. That's why right now you're probably watching this. You don't know, other than the fact that I'm Catholic, who I stand for, right? I'm trying to avoid sticking my nose in. I just want to give you some things to think about, right? The things I do want to say that are in the debate that I think personally, that I like, that I'd like to stick in my 2 cents, but I'm not going to, even though I think that they're great comments and they're great things to talk about, they're nothing in comparison to the importance of the pro-life issue, huh? That's what the most important thing is. So now, I keep dragging this out. I'm going to say one other thing. This may not be significant to you, but it is to me, because I always look to see how a person is being led behind the scenes by God. I just notice little subtle things, and you might say, boy, you're grasping at straws. That's not important. I'm just going to share it with you to see what you think. Just my opinion. 3 times the Vice President Pence ended a question And by ending his question, he actually goes into the next topic of the debate. And the moderator, even when he ends, he talks with it. And the moderator even comments on it twice, saying, wow, you made a segue again to go into the next thing. He did it to go into the economy and go into climate. She was going to ask that question next, and he just opens the door. So, and it's just really neat because it becomes common. It even happens a third time. And the third time, she doesn't even mention it. But it's like Vice President Pence was even being led what to say. You know, it's like something a little small there. Notice his peace. He's just really at peace when he is there. I don't think his heart rate ever went up. It's just great. So pray for guidance. Watch it again, and also watch the What's God Doing with Trump Biden video that I have on my page. And I know what a fitting thing to end this video is. I'm going to end with the last question of the debate. The debate, the last question was from the little 8th grader, right? How come you guys can't get along? You're always fighting. What kind of an example is it going to be for us if you guys are always fighting? Boy, I don't know how I would answer that, but you can tell he was led. He gave such a perfect answer. It was just perfect. If you don't remember it, watch it again. I mean, this is a total stand-up man, and he's behind our president. If you don't like the president, just think, how can this guy so stand up standing behind him? That's a testimony in itself. So that's it. I hope hope this was insightful to you. The name of the channel is Decide for Peace. That's the most important thing. Whatever happens, decide for peace. Okay? No justice, no peace. No. Decide for peace. You can go odd. You know, I mean, God gives you a river of life going this way. You know, you have a rudder to choose many things. You can go many different ways, you know, but ask him to lead and guide you. You have a rudder to go away, but don't kill yourself trying to fight against the stream. If you're asking God to lead and guide you, I'm saying if you are, I'm not talking about for those that aren't. If you're asking him to lead and guide you, then you have to trust that he is leading and guiding you. That just makes sense. And then you go with the flow of the way things are going and sit back and enjoy the ride. And you can just hear Jesus saying, when you say, I trust you, this makes no sense to me, but I'm going to choose peace. And you can just hear Jesus saying, wow, such faith, such faith. And that's what I want him to say about me. So use the difficulties that we're having right now to do that. I hope this was insightful. Thanks.